Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies, and yes, there are bubbles around here because I borrowed Middle-Aged Geek Girl's bubble machine. This time around, I promised you Filipino vampires last time, but I'm saving that one. I'm going to do that video later. Yesterday, it got to be Christmas for me because Imprint via Vision have sent me a bunch of videos to look at. They sent me all of the Imprint movies for this month. They also sent me a double pack of horror movies, a horror movie remake and its sequel, which some people tell me is good and some people tell me is not. So let's get started with that. Well, visually give me Halloween and Halloween 2. Now, this is not your John Carpenter Halloween. This is the one from 2007 and 2009 in a Blu-ray box set. There's the inside cover, which is pretty much the same as the outside cover, but there are a lot of extras in this one. Take a look at that lot. You've got two versions. You've got the unrated version of each movie, and you've also got the theatrical release. Now, I was thinking it through. I don't know if anybody's actually going to watch the theatrical release of these movies, because if you're going to have the option of having the version with extra guts and gore and horror in it, you're going to go with that one. You're going to turn the amplifier up to 11 and just go with that. I do have a few friends who are really big Rob Zombie fans. I'm not particularly, but I do know at least one actress who's a mad Rob Zombie fan, and she recommends these movies. But for me, I like the original Halloween. I like the one with all of those masks that crush people's heads in. I think it was Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. But I'm not that big on the Halloween franchise. But if you're interested in it, this one's there. Let me just see if it's region locked. It's region B. But if you want to get this one in a nice little slipcover, and slipcovers are my new big thing because it protects the discs just a little bit more, and also if the slipcover gets a bit sun faded for some reason, it helps keep the disc itself pristine. So they sent me that. I will watch the movies and I'll let you know what I think of them eventually, but I've got a stack of movies to watch in the meantime. Then we move on to the Imprint releases for this month. This one was kind of controversial at the time because there have been two previous movies based on the same story, and they were really, really popular. There's one in 1935, there's one in 1962, and there's this one in 1984. Now, this one stars one actor I like and one actor I don't like, which is kind of okay. It's The Bounty with Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson in it. It was an enormous $25 million movie at the time. They actually built a replica of the original HMS Bounty and sailed it around. I think it was built in Whangarei in New Zealand, and then they shipped it out to Moorea and filmed a lot of the film there. There was Midley on The Bounty in 1935, which had Charles Lawton playing Captain Bligh and Clark Gable playing Fletcher Christian, because nothing says English sailor like Clark Gable. Then in 1962, they did Mutiny on the Bounty with Trevor Howard playing Captain Bligh and Marlon Brando playing Fletcher Christian, because nothing says an English sailor like a guy from Chicago. And then in 1984, they released this one. Now, as you can see, it's in one of those kind of cigarette case covers, which is pretty cool. They began their epic voyage as friends. It ended in hatred and bloodshed. Sounds like a road trip I've been on once. But there are all the extras there, and I'll read them off for you. There's the film in 1080p. There's the Making of the Bounty documentary narrated by Edward Fox from 1984. The Bounty on Film, a visual essay narrated by Stephen Walters from 2004. And a theatrical trailer. That's on the first disc, which is this one, which is kind of a nice looking disc too. I like the fact that the colours are slightly different. Then on the special features disc, you've got a Fated Ship documentary surrounding the construction of the Bounty replica ship and the early development of the film, and that's from 1981. In Bligh's Wait, documentary charting the voyage from New Zealand to Tahiti to deliver the Bounty replica. A Desperate Enterprise directing the Bounty, an interview with Roger Donaldson, the director, in 2003. The Long Hard Voyage, adapting Mutiny on the Bounty featurette from 2023. Limits of Endurance, scoring the Bounty featurette from 2023. Making Waves, a feature-length documentary with crew members of the Bounty film crew, made in 2023. Mixing Waves, interview with the dubbing mixer John Hayward and Robin O'Donoghue from 2023. So you get a little bit of the technical aspects of it as well, which is good. Voyager ran an interview with second unit cameraman Doug Milsom in 2023. And A Turbulent Journey, the Making of the Bounty production slideshow. So you get a ton of extras in here. That's the second disc with all the documentary extras on it. And there's a photo of the ship itself. And not only that, you get a booklet with a whole bunch of information about the production of the movie. Really nice photo of the Bounty itself on the back there. And lots of pictures as well. So, as usual with these large format double disc sets that Imprint do, it's a high quality product. There is the picture underneath the little slip card with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins there. Yeah, this one, I'm going to have to revisit the movie, I think, because I remember seeing it at the time or soon after the time on VHS and kind of going, yeah, I don't know whether I like this movie or not. I was a little bit one way or the other about it, but I'm going to revisit that. Now, we've got the other 5 discs from the June 2023 releases. This one's probably one of the most recent movies that Imprint have released. It's from 2020, so it's not that old. It's directed by Peter Hosan Chan, and it's a bit of a sports ball movie called Leap. A match China couldn't lose and certainly could not afford to lose, it says. The women's national volleyball team of China's persistence and teamwork became a national inspiration and collective memory of the 1980s. Can the team spirit be passed down to new generations as China goes through rapid changes? It's a sports ball one. It's not particularly my thing, but I think it's interesting seeing other cultures' viewpoints of things. 1080p, it's in 1080p. Screenwriter and film critic Tony Reyes on Leap, that's from 2023. New volleyball team featurette, Becoming Lang Ping, because it stars Gong Li, and she has to become the main character in this. Middle Earth, China's cultural industry podcast, behind the scenes with lead director Peter Hosan Chan. New China women's volleyball team teaser trailer, Leap teaser trailer, and Leap theatrical trailer. Now, I know nothing about this movie. There's a very kind of patriotic looking cover for it. It's interesting that Imprint is actually moving out of just doing exploitation films and just doing American movies and really embracing films from other cultures. I think there's a good market there. And for me, at least, I've always said that I wanted to see stories from other cultures. And even if it is about sport, I'm going to give this one a go because I want to see what's coming out and see how things are interpreted by other cultures. And even if I'm not always kind of comfortable with the approach taken by these things, at least I can expand my horizon and expand my understanding. Then there's one that's been recommended to me by my good friend Grant Watson over at fictionmachine.com. This one's directed by Zhang Yimou. And it's a film called Not One Less, which has got a really interesting story to it. And I've read up on this one and I definitely want to check this out. Here's what it says on the back. In the crushing poverty of rural China, a young woman, and she's about 13 or 14, is ordered to a remote village to become their substitute teacher. Faced with overwhelming family debt, her biggest little troublemaker runs away to the city to find work. The stubborn teacher is determined to follow the boy and bring him back to school. There's a few reasons for that. She's been told by the person she's substituting for, who has gone back to his home village to look after a sick family member, that she needs to have all of the kids there when that teacher gets back. And the school is incredibly poor. They don't even have enough chalk for their chalkboard. She's only allowed to use one piece of chalk per day. The kids are acting up. She's out of her depth and yet is determined to do a good job because there is a bonus if she has all the kids there at the end of the time the other teacher's away. And if she kind of keeps things in line, it means money for her. And like the students and like the village, she lives in extreme poverty. So she goes to the big city and has to try to find this kid and try to hold everything together while she is still herself a teenager. I want to see this movie. It sounds fantastic. Zhang Yimou filmed it under some very extreme circumstances. The Chinese government was looking over his shoulder all the time when he was making it. And yet, from everything I've seen, this can be seen as pro-Chinese government, and also, if you interpret it a different way, it can be seen as critical of the Chinese government. If you can do that kind of balancing act, all credit to you as a director. But I really want to see this one because it's outside my comfort zone. And yet it's a movie that I really was intrigued by the story and I want to see it. It's from 1999, so it has been out for 24 years now. But I want to see that one because that is something that I find really interesting. Now, the last three I've got are all in each of their own ways about sexual obsession and kind of lust and love and things like that. This one's from 2004. It's Emily Blunt's first movie, feature film, a movie called My Summer of Love, directed by Pavel Pawlowski, and I got that wrong. I was trying very hard. It's about a couple of young women who fall in love. They're from different cultural backgrounds. One is rich and the other's poor. It's based on a novel, and it's about their friendship, which becomes love, the way their families react to it. It stars Emily Blunt, Natalie Press, and Paddy Considine. Now, Paddy Considine plays the brother of one of the girls who is an ex-criminal who's suddenly got some God into him and has become quite evangelical, and that brings him into conflict with the other two characters. This was 1080p based on a 4K scan, audio commentary by the director, deleted scenes, B-roll footage, interview with actors Paddy Considine, Natalie Press and Emily Blunt, and the director, and a theatrical trailer. This one looks beautiful. I mean, just have a look at that cover. That kind of beautiful summery look to it is something that I could really embrace, particularly given the fact that we're in the middle of winter. It's a movie I haven't seen, but I think I really should because, again, I'm trying to expand my horizons here. And much as I love the science fiction, much as I love the horror and all the other things I do and the hidden gems of the older movies, seeing some films like this is really something I want to do more of. The next one was based on a novel. I've got a copy of the novel. It's from 1992, directed by Louis Malle, who did Pretty Baby and a number of other things. Damage, which stars Jeremy Irons, Juliette Binoche, Rupert Graves, Ian Bannon, and Leslie Caron. Now, this one, I'll read to the back. It says, Desire, Deceit, Destiny. A member of Parliament falls passionately in love with his son's fiancée. They pursue their affair with obsessive abandon despite the dangers of discovery and what it would do to his complacent wife and his son. These days, saying a member of British Parliament having a sex scandal is something that happens every 7 weeks. But at this time, it's a bit shocking. There's the inside cover with a really nice photo of Juliette Binoche. Special features 1080p presentation from a 2K scan. Professor Hugh Frey on Damage from 2023. An early obsession interview with the editor John Bloom from 2023. Vintage production feature with the cast and crew, The Making of Damage, Jeremy Irons and character, director Louis Malle. One-on-one with Louis Malle featurette and a theatrical trailer. This one is a really challenging movie because the female character played by Juliette Binoche can almost be seen in some lights like a femme fatale and in other lights not, but just as somebody who doesn't know what they want from life. Whereas Jeremy Irons' character is a middle-aged man with an obsession, and Jeremy Irons did this kind of role really well, did this one really well in this as well. Juliette Binoche is really good in it. Miranda Richardson playing the wife is really great, and we get a very late role from Ian Bannon and Leslie Caron as well. Yeah, this one is definitely about sexual obsession and the price of it. And the bit for me that I don't particularly like is the fact that the main character, the politician played by Jeremy Irons, ends up living in a rented apartment in the south of Italy, which for me is kind of like something I'd like to do. But there you go. So that one, again, is about sexual obsession. The last one I've got for you is from 2000. Directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, who directed Cinema Paradiso. It stars Monica Bellucci in Malena. Now, this one is a kind of messed up movie. The first thing you got to say is it was produced by Harvey Weinstein, so keep that in mind when you think about this. She was too young to be a widow and too beautiful to be alone. This is set during World War II when Italy went to the side of the Germans and things got very bad. A mystic war climate, a teenage boy discovering himself becomes love-stricken with Malena, a sensual woman living in a small, narrow-minded Italian town. This is set in Sicily. Malena is, her husband has gone off to fight the war for Italy. She's told that he's died during the war, and she's by herself. She's got to look after her father-in-law. And meanwhile, there's two groups in the town. All the men are lusting after her. All the wives hate her because she's beautiful. And it shows this through the eyes of a teenage boy who's obsessed with her. Now, the main character, Malena, doesn't get a lot of agency in this, which is a little bit of a problem, and it's something that Louis Malle was prone to do. But it's beautifully shot, and it's one of those movies about sexual obsession, which really needs to be reevaluated in a modern climate. Monica Bellucci, beautiful, fine actress as well. She even got to be one of James Bond's conquests in her 40s. There's a lot of sexual politics here that I find a little bit cringe. This month's releases from Imprint, there's not a movie there that I'm not going to watch, and there's not a movie there that I don't want to see, because I like the way that Imprint and Viavision curate these things, and I like the way that getting review copies of it takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm prone to sit on my ass and just enjoy the kinds of movies I normally watch, but when people give me movies or give me access to seeing movies, that's when I get off my backside and start learning new things about cinema, and this lot is going to do that for me. There they are. They're not going to, I don't suspect that some of these are going to be the most popular releases that Imprint have ever done, but I think that they're honest releases, and I like what Imprint is doing with this, and the way that they're not just resting on their laurels and keeping the same kinds of movies going. They're really finding hidden gems. They're finding things that are a bit challenging for their client base, and things that tell stories from the viewpoints of other cultures. And I admire them for that. So that's it for this time around. Next video I've got for you is Science Fiction Saturday, and I'm still working out a few details on that. And then on Sunday, Monday, depending on where you are, there's going to be the next one of the hidden gems covering the letters C and D. So there's lots of good stuff coming up on the channel. So thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. Let me know which of these movies you want to look at and which of these ones you want to get. There's a wide range of films in this particular month's releases, and that's something that I'm kind of finding delicious. You can also support the channel, by the way, by donating and becoming a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. The people who won the prizes for the 10,000 subscriber giveaways have been notified. I've got their addresses. I'm sending them their discs this week, and there will be more competitions in future. I don't know exactly when, but there will be competitions in the future, and there will be things that people can ask to be a part of and possibly win. So that was a lot of fun to do this time around. Just sharing the love with the movies that I talk about on the channel is a lot of fun for me. Until next time, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, watch some movies that really challenge you, and go outside your comfort zone, because you never don't learn anything from it. And I'll catch you next time.